Welcome to Heart Powered Conversations. Today, my guest is Rita Hraiz. I first heard Rita speak in an interview and was completely mesmerized by her presence, her energy, and the light that she radiates. She radiates it so much that you feel just completely engulfed in it. And I had to bring her on to have a heart powered conversation and to have you get a glimpse of some of the wisdom that she holds, to hear her prayers and dreams for humanity, and so that you could experience some of this magic that she radiates out into the world and be touched by her palpable divinity. I am going to let her introduce herself and share her story, how this work found her, and welcome, Rita. Thank you for agreeing to being here with me today.
It's so special to meet you, here. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, I feel very honored and to have this conversation and to honor how deeply authentic you too radiate the light of the heart. So I look forward to bring to you and to your guests an understanding of esoteric psychology and ageless wisdom and the view there of what is the heart. What does it really mean to live through the heart? And it's very easy to just say those words. To actually become a hollow bone or empty like a flute to be played through is another ball game and takes many lives of purification to return to that at one moment, to come into the alignment, to become that vessel for this outpouring to come through. So I guess, how will I introduce myself? I am a grandmother. I'm 61 years old. I have two beautiful granddaughters and four children, offsprings, teachers to me, aged 40 to 22. And that's been a massive journey of purification for a start, really. In this body, my heritage is my father was Hindu and my mother Lebanese. And since a very young age, since actually this awareness, I remember this awareness being there when I was in my cot standing up. Now, I know I left my cot at about 2.5, but I remember standing, looking at my mother walking into the room and saying, oh, that's that woman that always smiles at me and loves me, not having the mental capacity to go, this is my mum in that. And I really remember a lot about those first few years, the gooseberries in the garden, the tortoise, and this desire to walk barefoot, strangely. And feeling the electromagnetic current of chi under my feet at a very young age. And this prana, this Shakti, this great mother, life force energy that's quite sensual, well, very sensual and orgasmic. So becoming aware of this energy at the base of my spine and through my feet at a young age, and knowing if I'm really still, I can ride this energy. I can actually be elevated by it. So I had that realization very young. And, the story is the story. And of course, like most people, as in fully, and also fell into realms where, like most people, in fact, it's funny because I've very recently painted this beautiful painting of the Blue Lotus goddess. And I love her essence and energy. I've been dieting with this plant in the last couple of years and really meditated on the lotuses, especially the blue ones in Sri Lanka, which I go to every year, and feeling like this theme has been there of how does this lotus arise stainless from the bottom of the thick, muddy pool? And I guess that is the story of our journey, actually, as human beings, of when we have a body, every time, every life, we're absorbing the DNA of our ancestors, our mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, and all the impurity, as well as all their attributes and gifts. But we're looking through this lens, we're looking through a physical body of what has been their suffering and their imprints, and we often think it's ours. And so I have been in this deep, deep, long journey, even this very week with my mother in intensive care, on that edge of life and death, and to leave her body and to leave everything, and to really feel it in myself and see all the different attachments at the different stages of awakeness of my family. You know, some in mortified, they can't bear the thought of her going because they're not very connected to the eternal in themselves and knowing that there is no such thing as death. But that place of what it is to have a body and an opportunity to be here on this earth, and why do human beings have to suffer, and why does it take so long to journey to the center of our being, the center of our being, which is everywhere at once? Once we come home to the center of our being, then we have access to the heart of all existence. And there's no separation, then we're at one with the one. And this is the journey. So who am I? I'm here as a student of esoteric psychology and ageless wisdom. And the beauty of this study for the last 30 years in this body, in this life, has been recognizing and really in depth looking and contemplating and meditating on how all the paths lead us back to the center. So whether we're coming through the path of Christ's consciousness or Krishna's consciousness, or the profundity of the insight of the Buddha's consciousness to help us recognize our own nature, that we are all Buddhas in reality. Whether we're talking about the indigenous earth keepers that live very close to the earth, that tend the garden of this earth, and their wisdom, their innate wisdom and their understanding of the magic of the plants and the masteries, and how energy flows and all of the elements, and all of it brings us back to this one thing that we're all attempting to evolve ourselves towards, which is how to walk this path of the heart that you have awoken to and recognize, and which I love that you have, that actually in reality love is the only solution. And love, once we really live that principle and become a vessel for that principle, all our conflict and all our karma can be purified. And that is absolutely comes back to, for instance, the highest teaching within the tantras of the Buddha, which is about the purification of the mind, so we can come to the place of non-duality and really walk and become an embodiment of compassion. And so it's such an honor to open this conversation up right now on the earth, where there's this unprecedented awakening and there's this quest for peace. And yet, even within spiritual circles all over the place, there is massive delusion around how peace can be achieved in the collective, because we have to start with our own family, our own selves, and there's a process to that. So I guess what I would love with all my heart to share today with your viewers is the understanding of the truth that there is a divine plan that's being unfolded through us. And in that divine plan, there are stages of awakening, stages of initiation. And you could say it's like very precise and it's like a science, although please don't get me wrong, I'm not a guru. I don't belong to anything. I'm not asking people to follow me. And this isn't a set doctrine, but there is a precision that's encoded within our being to ripen in the way that a mango is much nicer when it's fully ripened, or a pineapple or any fruit. That we have to come into that ripening in terms of our evolution. And it's all around our chakras, our minor chakras and major chakras, and these stages that bring us to the point that we can live through the heart, which was talked about so much esoterically around the life of Jesus as the embodiment of the Christ 2000 years ago, because he was the first human to inform to have had a fully opened 12-petaled heart center open. That's so what we're all working towards is to come into the still point where we can feel the opulence of the absolute, and to, through that silence internally, feel the divine instruction of the one that we look to be the Christ or Krishna or the Buddha or Allah, that same force of love, light, and wisdom that is the pulsation and the divine rhythm coming from the heart of the central spiritual sun that animates all life. Every tree, every flower, every animal and species is informed by the intelligence of the central spiritual sun coming through the physical sun that activates our heart to beat. And it seems so simple if we could just come home, but our ego, left brain, mind will do anything and everything to interrupt that and take over. And I guess today, if there's time, I would love to talk about how do we then, in our aspiration, in our own growth, how do we get off of this itchy, agitated, emotional treadmill that takes everything personally, that goes into separation and blame? How do we purify our mind so that we can come into the acceptance of where another person is in their spiritual development and develop that level of unconditional love and compassion like we know our creator to give us?
Oh, I everything you said. First of all, listening to you is like it's like reading the most beautiful poetry book. But this last piece where you were talking about the purification of the mind, and it's it's something very dear to my heart. Not making an enemy out of the ego, but learning to be very aware of it, befriending it. And also my guides always say, you have to learn to seduce the ego because it likes to be safe, but it also loves all things comfort and all things. So how are you going to seduce your ego into working, being your ally on this journey? I don't know if you've ever heard anyone say that before, but my guides would always say, how do you seduce into following along this journey, that the heart is the main driver, the leader of this? So I always say that's the first step, right? And when you were talking about the piece, how everyone knows, we repeated literally on repeat cycle that I'm here to be love and hold love and the frequency of love and radiate love. And I always ask my clients and anyone I speak with, but how do you do that? And when you said you learn to be compassion, you used other words, but you learn to witness the other. I was like,
Yes.
that's it. It
That's
always comes down to that when you can break it down into, and I know you have so much wisdom to share about this, because this is the part where people always ask, but how do I stop resisting? How do I stop controlling? How do I actually surrender and allow the petals of this lotus to open?
yeah. So I would like to speak to that. There is a whole process with it. And, it depends, of course, on somebody's imprints, how loud they are. If you've had, for instance, you're in the Middle East at the moment, like that I work with a lot of beautiful Arabic women and men and Asian women and men. I work with people from all over the world. But a lot of the time, what I see is people have been conditioned with guilt and shame. And the guilt and shame, that's such a huge one, because if you're conditioned with it, to be made to feel like you're a bad, unloyal daughter, if you change and move out of what is expected of you, so you're never able to live in a heart. Your whole conditioned imprint was based on loyalty and obligation. That's the solar plex. So the first starting point of anybody that I was going to say that I work with, but it's way beyond me. Any of the teachers, the masters, what they will teach is to become intimate into me, I see, intimacy with the temple that houses your consciousness, your physical body, to really begin to understand that your body is a magnificent vessel with the meridian system, that's 1,000 vortexes of energy, the minor chakras, the major chakras, they're all lenses and gateways that accrue chi, prana, life force energy, and light through harmlessness and right action. And basically through harmlessness and right action starts to bring our chakras into alignment. Because if you think of most of humanity before waking up are in a place of needing to suck light and suck energy, because we're born as solar beings. We are designed to become radiatory in our alignment to the source of creation, to radiate energy, light, warmth, generosity, like the sun, like the heart does. But when the heart is contracted and not activated and avoided, which is where most people are, it sucks light, it sucks energy toward it. So the very first stage of waking up that happens is when a person suddenly goes, my goodness, I'm so sick of being so self-absorbed. I really know I need to connect to my true self. I know this can't be real, because actually in reality, we are in a dream. We're in one night's dreaming of our soul's evolution. I really want to talk about what is the soul and what is the spirit, because they're two different things. So when we wake up to realize that we are sick of being self-absorbed and we're going to be quiet and listen and come into stillness and begin a path of meditation, that's when people become aware, oh my God, my mind can't be still. It never shuts up. And then we become aware of a program that's consistently finding fault, judging ourselves, berating ourselves. So much of it being the imprints of being told, oh, you're irresponsible, or you're this, or you're that. And these judgments, and that become our judgment of another. That actually, Katrina, turns the throat chakra anti-clockwise. And that then pushes down onto the sacral chakra. That's where all our creative life force energy is, our potency, our prosperity. When it pushes down on it, that spins it anti-clockwise. And then you have materialism. And the deeper the anti-clockwise spin goes, the more the person becomes stuck in always having this itchy spot that it needs to consume over there, that it needs this to be happy, it needs this, or it needs that really big orgasm to be happy. And this ever receding satisfaction, it goes further and further away because it doesn't feel the tree of life within, and it doesn't feel its inner completion. So to come home to ourselves, we have to develop the muscle to not follow the thought of the negativity that's putting ourselves down, and not allow our mouth to join into gossip and berating somebody and seeing fault in another person. That's the first stage of waking up. And it's called, in esoteric psychology, it's called coming into right relationship with your own sexual energy. That draws up your sexual energy to have more chi, more prana, more inspiration, more healing ability. That's the first stage, coming into right relationship, this alignment between the throat and the sacral. The second stage of the wake up, which is where a lot of your viewers are, a lot of humanity is right now, is how to get, and that's the question you asked me, I'm sorry it took such a long time to get round to answering it, is how to get off the emotional treadmill, how to really start to feel the heart. Because the solar plex, in our evolution, in our Kundalini wake up, actually aligns to the heart center. So to take this second stage of awakening is actually, they call the hardest, because it's like walking through the eye of the needle. It's a narrow road because you have to discern and discriminate, and you have to really harness all the imprints of the compulsion and the neurosis that you inherit from your mother and your father and their grandmothers, their grandfathers, all their fear, all their insecurity, all their suffering. All of that has to be purified. So this wake-up process is a path of purification. And the only way to really deeply answer your question is to become aware of the presence of the holy I am, of the one that's watching. When you become aware of the one that's watching, the drama of your life, the ups, the downs, the ins and outs, the story, and you recognize that there's another one that's just quietly, unconditionally loving awareness. When we can bring this awareness down to the turbulence and motion of this neurosis of, one of my favorite teachers who I look to as my root guru is Padmasambhava from the 8th century, tantric master. He said, to rest in natural great peace from this exhausted mind, beaten helplessly in the infinite ocean of samsara, just to find rest. And it's like having a glass of muddy water. If you don't stir it, the dirt will just slowly settle to the bottom. So it's like, and Eckhart Tolle wrote about it in the New Earth, in the chapter of the pain body. I read this probably about 15 years ago, but I always remember this bit where I think he gives the analogy of, if you have a pain in your tooth and the filling comes out, the cavity comes out, and then you've made an appointment on Tuesday, it's now Thursday, you can go to the dentist on Tuesday, but your tongue compulsively keeps going into this hole. And your tongue is getting more and more sore to the point you think you're going to split the tooth before you get to the dentist and you've lost the tooth. Well, that's how around probing and constantly going back into the sorrow, the sadness, the suffering, and going, because it's trying to understand it with its left brain mind, it keeps going back in. But the thing is, it's approaching it from the place of taking the whole story personally. And in reality, that everybody is in this unawakened, not everybody, up until recently, we've been in this unawakened, hurt people. It's not personal. And you think of how much time is wasted in taking everything personally, lifetime upon lifetime, walking in this emotional mist that continues this dream that we're changing and we're awakening from now, because humanity is now coming home to recognize that actually I can bypass this, not spiritually bypass it, but I can bring the loving awareness of Christ's consciousness, of the Buddha's consciousness, of Allah's consciousness, this still intelligence to that pain, and envelop it, hold it with love, without judgment. And it's like we're reparenting ourselves, just holding that space for ourselves, which means to meet ourselves. That's the key here, is meeting the child self that inherited this body and bringing the love that it didn't receive because the parents weren't awake. And just to continue to come back to that, that in itself is so transformational. Just to still ourselves, think about where we are at this moment. On one level, here we are entering the age of Aquarius, coming out of a long 2,000-year period in the age of Pisces. I'll go into that more. But in this moment, it seems like there's a massive battle on this earth of good and dark, light and dark. And that's a whole process. This battle, which in a way is a complete outward reflection of our inner battle, because we've all got it going on. This battle is being exacerbated by the distraction that people are seduced, the seduction of scrolling, looking for something. It's just very fascinating around the birth of podcasts, because there is so much depth that is being born, actually, and the thirst of humanity to get some real information. It's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing, because what we have been fed has been narrow, and suddenly everywhere I go, if I'm talking at a festival, the thirst for depth is extraordinary. And it just goes to show, I mean, everywhere I go in my life, at whichever country I'm in, I'm just seeing so many people awakening. And this awakening is what's called, it's coming past, once we go through the second initiation, where the alignment from the solar plex to the heart brings us into the ability to discern and discriminate. So what happens then is people say, look, I realize every time I go and try and stay a week with my mum or hang out with those friends, I'm pulled out of my center. I don't have the skill set yet. Let's say this is what I'm seeing people recognizing. I don't have the skill set to not take it personally when they want to see me through the lens of their projections that is deeply upsetting. I was talking to a client yesterday, and it hurts that person so much that his mother can't see him. And in reality, his mother has never met herself. How is she going to be able to really meet him on a soul level? Because that is our deepest longing, to be met at the soul level. And first, we have to prepare our physical body. There's a science to it. This science is be harmless. Be with loving kindness and compassion, because that literally generates your throat chakra and all your chakras to start radiating light, literally, that changes the electromagnetic field where you go. it's extraordinary how amazingly we're designed until we get to something where the browse center is open. And that's my absolute interest in this life, is to support people to have the confidence, the courage, and feel safe enough to really come to a place of inner stillness and to do their work to prepare for this huge and exquisite awakening. Because once we are in this flow where the sleeping serpent at the base of the spine, all of our life force energy can be risen to come up all the way to the crown of the head. That's beyond magnificent. And it feels like, oh my God, this is that orgasmic space of being at one with the one that I've always known, because we are born through this energy and we return in this energy. And it's like a natural release of DMT through the light of our meditation. It's not through a substance outside of ourselves. It's from our own inner awakening. And that opens us to be at one with the mother father's cosmic orgasm, that we are rebirthed, literally. So we are all in this deep dreaming and yearning to be here with this. And yet so many people fall into some, you could say, astral desire of thinking somebody outside of them is going to fulfill it for them and make them so happy and feel this physical orgasm and physical pleasure. Something outside, actually, it's all about having the humility, actually, to bring ourselves to the creator and call upon the Great Spirit and say, Creator Spirit, I am 1000% ready to serve you and all humanity through time and space. Please guide me in every moment. Please show me the way. Please help me purify the knots and the blocked channels in my body that I've inherited in this life. Help me bring it all to the heart. And there are tradition. There are amazing practices. It's not like there's only one. That is definitely not true. The Creator's wisdom incarnated as high mastery in every path and in every tradition. That's why I love the Ageless Wisdom so much. There are countless emanations of this level. And then the most beautiful thing, Katrina, that I guess is something that I'm very interested to help people to connect with, is the light of their own spirit, which is like the Dharmakaya, the stainless purity of the eternal self that is made of cosmic fire. Like to come home, to open yourself to the enormity of your own magnificence is mind-blowing. And you've touched that yourself anyway. And that's why you're doing what you're doing. And everywhere, all over this earth, people are waking up to this.
You know, lately I've been seeing that fire, that cosmic fire that you speak of
Yeah.
in others. And one of the things that I keep hearing is you have to help them touch it, connect to it so that it's almost like it's like a vacuum that like then gives them enough of that boost to want to do that, to want to, because that power that drags you in, that of your ego, of the emotions, of the things, those old patterns, even though after you go through the initiations and you feel like, okay, I'm on the other side, things still come up.
Oh, yes. So,
It's like
yeah,
a
that's
loop,
so
right? Like it's
important.
like a spiral that like, oh, here we go. No, I thought I was already in the third level.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no,
No,
child.
it's very humbling, but it's so beautiful. I always say that to people. Please don't think once you feel all this activation in your brow and you feel this toroidal consciousness opening you, it's actually, I had a opening in this way in 1994 to 96, and it's only now, 30 years later, that I really feel the full grounded embodiment. You know, many different, I've been through different plant medicines, constant inner purification, but the groundedness and the refinement to become at that level of embodied takes time and maturity. And yet, I do see from younger people, you know, I just talked to a gentleman today, so many young people are awakening to it, to themselves, to the light of spirit, getting out of the way, being in and not needing to control everything. Because that's the biggest thing I learned was actually, you know, that strong ego, left brain mind of my Capricorn nature, let's say, that used to love having these big plans and creating all these things. I've had to let go of all of that to be able, because the way that the master teaches through the heart is through silence. I believe God speaks to us through silence. The download comes through that. And that then becomes the guidance. And we can think, oh, it's our knowing. But actually it's our emptying and listening to be then moved and directed to something much greater and much more magnificent than the left brain mind can conceive of. And every human, and this really has brought me many times to tears to realize this. There's so many people searching for their soul purpose and so many people aching to live fully through the heart. And when we get home to this place, and what is evoked and transmitted out of us individually is our utmost, most beautiful thing that we could ever want to offer, becomes our life in every direction, 360 degrees. That blows my mind. And that's the intimacy of being at one with the beloved, one with the creator. Because the creator knows us so well that when we awaken fully to our full authentic expression, that's not the girl that's trying to be good to get daddy's approval or mummy's approval, and we've given ourselves permission to be fully authentic because we trust our own purity and divinity. We trust it so deeply. That's when suddenly we can get out of walking in karma into dharma, our soul's offering. So I said earlier, I would love to speak a little bit about what is the soul and what is the spirit? What's the difference? So one of the beautiful things they explain in esoteric psychology and the Ageless Wisdom is, you know, we've incarnated with the physical body, a mental body, an emotional body, and a personality. So before this, when we were talking about how do you train the ego? So it's like we look at that as the vehicle of the personality. So before we wake up, the personality is the one driving the car. And then this vehicle, and then suddenly we get empty, and then the soul can come in and drive the vehicle and takes us to a totally different destination. So the soul isn't the light of spirit. Soul is this. Let me say what spirit is first. The spirit is the permanent atom. It is like the fragmentation aspect of God consciousness. The spirit, the light of our spirit, is holy. It has a masculine part and a female part. And we're always in union, always in lovemaking with the one. We're never out of that place, and there's no lust. It's just pure lovemaking. So that's why the Tibetans and the Vedas, they show the mother-father aspects, the Buddha always with his consort. They're all, because they're a part of each other. So that's the light of our spirit, mother, masculine, female at one with the one, that's made of cosmic fire, that for that light, that enormity to actually penetrate the physical atoms of your body, you have to be able to hold a very high voltage. Otherwise, you would have a Kundalini burnout. So I talk a lot about that on my YouTube channel, and it's what I care about people understanding, because so many people are waking up. They need to understand what it is to prepare yourself for this enormity of voltage of fire to come through you. So the soul actually is the merit accumulated through every good deed, word, and action for all your lifetimes. It is your selfless service. It's all the nappies you've changed, and the washing up, and the times you made offerings to the sacred waters near you, the mantras that you generated through your arduous trust in the deity, the prayers that you've made, the sacrifices that you make for the service of humanity. That generates what the Buddhists call bodhicitta. And that light is stored as electric fire. So in every lifetime, there is nothing wasted. It might be that somebody came into this body, into their body, and that they only lived till 9 years old in terrible conditions and were sexually abused, and somehow worked that through their heart and gave themselves as an offering to transmute the lust and the hatred and the darkness, and all the merit that they cultivate that goes into the light of their soul, and they let go of the body in the dream. So that's how we're designed, that we keep having like a holographic dreamscape to generate chi, life force energy, prana, and merit. And that then gets cultivated as the light of our soul. And each of us has a unique light, because you may have had many lives in, I don't know, in Iran or Russia, or in the jungle somewhere, where you did certain levels of work, or I know in my case, I've done a lot of work with the Taoists, and with, you build a geometry and pattern a tapestry of your own beauty, but your soul is your unique geometry, that lives in the causal ocean. So that when you die, when you leave this body, your soul goes back to the causal ocean, and your soul is made of electric fire. So all your good actions, good deeds, electric fire. So eventually we get to the point where we come in and we realize, I need to call in my soul. I need to invoke the light of my soul to guide me, because I'm stuck in this density and I'm feeling the blockage of my ancestral, and I need to bring in my overself. So that we invoke the light of our soul, and then people go through these Kundalini wake-ups, because they start to wake up in the middle of the night. They feel like their body is shuddering and shaking with electricity, shimmering, start to feel all this energy in their hands and out their feet and in their yoni, in the brow center. And that's the soul coming in. It's incredible. And so I'm just so grateful, because what I'm seeing is, I'm not just seeing it in my own, like me, Rita, just seeing this. I'm also in the view of, with these incredible Tibetan masters, and also in the Vedas, they are very strongly talking about, we're about to enter a golden age. So that comes from 2030 onwards, 2037. We've already entered into the age of light, and it's going to become the age of love, which is what your work is. to prepare people that it's safe to live through the heart. In fact, it is the wisest choice because it resolves all conflict, all negativity, all karma, everything conflicting. It's the minute I can, it doesn't mean that the battle's over. I can still see where the ego will want to come in and go react to somebody's rudeness or ignorance or blaming energy. But then it's like, do I want to feed that aspect? Or am I just going to ask myself in this moment, what would love do? What would love do? It's just so simple. And love's always going to have this answer of simplicity and ease and grace. And it brings us into synchronicity and the phi ratio, the golden mean spiral. You've just been to Egypt recently. I love that because the Great Pyramid corresponds 100% to, it actually generates a vortex of the phi ratio, which is union of spirit and matter, and aligned, you know, the whole of the pyramid is aligned to the godhead of the Great Bear, Sirius, and the Pleiades. You know, this, everything that we're in is such a cosmic divine order, divine plan. And we're about to enter an age that will be known as the age of cosmic divine order and ceremonial white magic. But we have been in an age that was ruled by black magic, manipulation, selfishness, and greed. And so we're coming out of that. Everybody's being rebirthed into the innocence of their stainless purity. And each of us, you know, even for us to be able to have this conversation, the times have changed.
I'm hearing the age of Ma'at, the age of Ma'at returning, the ancient Egypt concept of, known as the goddess, but the concept of balance, cosmic order, divine order.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I have on one of my fingers, I have her symbol, the feather, as my guiding light.
I love that. Well, I work a lot with feathers. I
Yeah.
look in person, I really do.
Well, Rita, this beautiful painting behind you, when you said you painted it, you said casually, I recently painted this. I was like, wait, what? Stop. Can we talk about that and all the other work that you do? I know there's clothing, there is work with couples, there is
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of inspiration. It's a lot of all that energy is cultivated and it's gone upwards.
Okay, wait, do you sleep or do you not require sleep or food anymore either?
No, that's such an important question, actually, because I didn't need to sleep very much for years and didn't. And I would get up in the middle of the night and paint and draw. And I honestly, I could turn my camera to other paint. In fact, shall I? Just a quick
Yes, please.
thing. I just want to show you this. Can you see her?
Yes. For anyone listening, because a lot of people are listening this on Apple and Spotify, can you describe that painting that you just showed me and then the one behind you? Who
Okay.
are these beautiful?
Oh, thank you. Well, the one I just showed you a second ago, I call her the spirit of the Condor Eagle prophecy. And the Condor Eagle prophecy came about where it says when the eagles of the North Americas fly with the condors of the South Americas, people from all nations will pray around the same altars. And that's my life, actually. I feel very connected to this. I go around the world in different places from Kenya to Sri Lanka, all over Canada, to hold retreats where I support people to meet themselves without distraction, to hold space for them to go in and bring love to where the pain, the grief, the sorrow, the anger, the self-pity is, to then hold the space to connect with the magnificence of their divine self. You know, like, I love that work. And so often we'll have Muslim, Hindu, African, every nation that you can imagine, Israeli, Palestinian, sitting around those same altars that are non-denominational with the greatest reverence and respect from the paths that they've come from, so that we can sing together and pray together all night. You know, like, it's like 2, 3 days, sometimes 7 nights of just being together and then sharing the stories, so we can really allow ourselves to feel others' suffering. So the Condor Eagle prophecy, that's what she is about. Maybe I can send you an image of these. And the
Yes.
one behind me, she's a new one. And I've been visiting Sri Lanka for about 12 or 13 years every year. And I'm always very moved by the lakes, which have the blue lotuses and the different lotuses. And sometimes in my retreats, the sisters will bring beautiful, you know, white lotuses, red, and then the pinks and the blues. And last year, somebody got me some blue lotus tincture. So I had been working with it all year. And then I realized, you know, in my life, I have definitely experienced grief. I watched my beloved leave his body from a road traffic accident when my daughter was 5 months. So she never got to be held much enough by her father. My father was very close to me. So that was very sad. But, you know, I do trust the divine plan as it unfolds. I trust life, and I'm in the deepest acceptance. But what I love about this painting, and what I love about the Blue Lotus, for me, what it represents is the depth of your sorrow will become the height of your joy. Khalil Gibran said those words. And I feel I've experienced the highest bliss so much. And that the depth of my sorrow has become the height of my joy. And I'm grateful for the bandwidth of in this life. And, you know, and then the other aspect, which takes me to my root teacher, Padmasambhava, and really respecting that he taught a path of, he was what's called a Vajra master. It means to cut through all illusion. And what he taught is how to cut through the impurity of the mind that brings us into division. That's something that humanity is really going to have to learn to master, because there's so much misinformation. And I'm watching this split growing. In fact, you know, I will bring light to the shock, actually, that to see that racism is rearing its head in this world. Again, I'm born in 1963. I used to weep to see apartheid. My dad was Indian, my mother olive-colored skin. And I used to think about, my God, what would happen if we were in South Africa? Would they be allowed to go through the same door? Would they be able to drink from the same water fountain? No. And actually, I made a dedication somewhere in my heart. I thought, I want to break down racism. And so I had 3 black sons, you know, from Caribbean descent, Afro-Caribbean descent, to break that down from my father, who comes from the Indian line. That's just a no-no to have black-skinned grandchildren. And then I had a white daughter from a Scottish father. To just break that, to cut it. And I feel so good about that in my heart, because we are one human family. If we hurt anybody, we hurt ourselves. And I really feel deep passion around helping people to awaken to the fact that we come from one family. We come from the source of the one. That's the bit and the heart. It's that brings us home to recognize, like, the heart, your work, everything that you're doing to bring awareness to the path of the heart is so profound, because the heart itself carries the template and the blueprint for the solution to all world problems. At the end of this today, I would very much like to offer a prayer around that. And on that, so just, you know, as I speak about this, I do want to just bring a little bit of awareness to, so I do have a clothing line, which is all about sustainable clothing and women feeling that they can be their authentic self, not having to be in really tight structured clothes, but stuff that you can feel, you can embrace your folds and, you know, just femininity and color, a high frequency color. But my biggest work, my biggest offering, that I was telling my mum yesterday in ICU, how much this brings me joy to my heart to offer humanity for the sake of the next 7 generations of children, is to work with couples, to help couples to have exquisite, soulful relationships where they can go into a whole new dimension of harmonizing their heart. It's actually called Harmonizing Hearts in the Light of Love. But how to go past the story where all the tension, all of the thinking I'm so spiritually superior than my partner, because that's bullshit. Everybody has a spirit. And to help people go past those places where they separate and come to the deepest atomic harmonization, so that they can not just meditate on in a soulful way, but actually make love in a way that's going to bring such satisfaction that is it's what the yearning is. And I'm so looking forward to share that. I do have a free Zoom about it. I hope you will join as well. It's on September the 12th. So that if anybody's interested, if this goes out before then and anybody's interested, it would be wonderful for you to join me on that Zoom where I can talk about this in depth, because you know how I talked about the first initiation is about understanding the sacredness of your sexual energy and correcting that place inside you that finds fault all the time and can't help but find fault. And of course, in every relationship, that first chemical phase is over, then the mind is going to find fault. And it's about retraining and finding the practices to speak without blame and without finding fault, and to really open to make your whole relationship your spiritual practice. That's a whole new dimension, to make your whole relationship your spiritual practice. And I really, as I say, offering this for the children to feel the harmony of the mother and father on a vibrational level. That's going to change humanity. Just that. It's going to be born consciously into a committed relationship where two people have committed to hold each other in the highest possible light and to walk as spiritual companions. That's our evolution for the future.
So when does this beautiful program start and how long is it?
Okay, it's going to start the end of September, and it's a 6 month course, which you don't have to be live to do. So it's going to be online, but you can join in online, because I love when I'm working with couples, when I can see them and feel their energy, I go into a very deep telepathic state. So then I can answer the questions, both telepathically that people don't have the courage to ask, because I'm meeting their energy, and also the ones that want to. And in this course is going to have exquisite shamanic journeys that you do with your lover. So that because no woman is going to say to her lover, look, I really want to do things like this, can we, please? Because they don't want to ask. And I really understand that. So, and men do not want to be told. So this is a beautiful way where I can weave so that it's an inspiration. It's not telling anybody what to do. It's holding a container for everybody to go into their own alignment in the most sacred way so that then they can start to meet, but everybody gets their own deepest inspiration with each other in their own privacy, in their own home. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
It sounds just incredible. And I completely agree with you with this whole sacred union for the sake of the children,
Mm-hmm.
being that example, that modeling that for them, right?
Yeah,
And healing the generations that we didn't have that.
exactly. It's such a big thing. Look at the level of addiction to pornography right now in the younger generations for the men. That really disturbs me because how can you have true intimacy? So I really want to, like, when I have given talks to maybe 300-400 people, the men weep and they'll come and ask for a hug after, and like they really want to change. They don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
And I take full responsibility as a mother and a grandmother. I am mother of 3 sons. It's like the change has to happen with us as the women that are giving birth to the men, to make space for their tears and their sensitivity and their emotional, and that they don't feel that they have to shut it all down. Yeah.
Oh, this touches so deeply. I have a son who is a sweet Pisces boy who is 11,
Oh,
just the most sensitive, kind, just, and all of his teachers that have ever, from preschool, kindergarten, elementary school, have always said the world needs more boys like this, and please take care and nurture that so he doesn't shut down. So that the
amazing.
world, because the world can be so harsh for, especially for boys like that. And
Exactly.
and I completely agree with you that it is us, that it is the both us as partners to these men, but especially as mothers, because
It's the mothers to the
that love
sons.
that was activated through us when we gave birth to them holds that capacity, holds that fire
Yeah,
to to keep nurturing them instead of doing what the old programs would have us do.
it's so true. And and sacred touch for our sons so that they have regular massage and touch from, so it's just natural. And to for instance, help them to really feel, where is their brow center? How does it feel to focus here? How does it feel to focus here? So they've really got this sensitivity internally so that they know how to touch with that degree of sensitivity. We have to be the change that we want to see.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that was just like the best advice you just a lot of my listeners are mothers of younger children, and I think that's that was just beautiful. Like practical nugget that we're like we will always carry that with us.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say, I'm being really inspired about perhaps doing a beautiful talk with you in Dubai.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be amazing. Rita, you wanted to do a
Oh,
prayer.
yeah, I
And
do.
when we finish that, I'd like for you to share if there's anything else besides this offering, and of course, all the links, everything will be in the show notes, easy to find. But yes, don't forget if there's anything else how else people can work with you, if you want to say that before the prayer.
Yeah,
So
I'll
that
do
we
that
can,
now before,
yeah.
and then we'll close with the prayer. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. So, okay, so I do wisdom counseling, and I love to do that because it's really holding a space for people to go deeper into meeting themselves, to understand more of the gifts that they've come in with, and to unravel the places that they feel knotted, to hold that space so that they can see it from a different perspective. So I love to do that, and you can contact my team through that. I'm sure there'll be links here. Yeah, so right now, you could also write in if you want to be on my mailing list with regards to retreats. And that's about it, really. This next phase, I feel like I'm just coming into my highest, truest work now. It's very much more about teaching and sharing ageless wisdom, but in a very practical way. That's what I feel is needed, because you can get very deep books on this, but it's actually how to apply this in a way that's very grounded. So, I have also, most importantly, this has been really something that I think probably over 250 people have done, and we're relaunching this now as an Ageless Wisdom shamanic training. And that's a 12th module. So some people do it over a year, but you can do it, much faster if you want to, but it's available to you for a lot longer. And that's a training in understanding esoteric psychology, but working with your body. So it's incredibly somatic. So you work to become really aware of the gateways, the pathways inside you, and to open yourself to the holy I am magnificence of your eternal self, and to understand many things in it. You can see it on my website, but one of the most important things is to understand how to prepare for the day you leave your body, to assist other people when they're leaving their body, how to become a space holder for small groups or big groups. So a lot of people have gone on now to become people that are giving cacao ceremonies, or all different types of working with plants. But it's not just, there's very many walks of life have been drawn to do this shamanic training, because it's a good, powerful holding when you're waking up. Because a lot of the time, it's very difficult when you're waking up. It's, let's say somebody goes to a Hindu guru, they're going to talk to them in this one language. Or they might go and then work with, let's say, an ayahuasquero in Peru, and they're going to want to work with them in this one way. And the way that I'm really working is in the way of the feminine. It's eclectic, and it's holding a container for somebody to explore internally themselves.
Seeing a kaleidoscope. It's not just one lens and one piece of the mirror that you're looking in. It's a kaleidoscope.
It is a kaleidoscope. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I love
And Rita's
it.
going to be in Dubai in October. I know,
Yes.
just the perfect place for us to do this
Okay.
talk, this meet and greet,
Yeah,
this
let's do
everything.
even a workshop. I think we should do a day's workshop.
Okay.
Something. We'll definitely plan
Yeah,
something.
we will. Yeah, there's a there's a beautiful conscious community here that is so thirsty for your medicine and your light. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation now, just
Me
just just a
too.
month before you're coming. So
This is
yeah.
exactly everything you live and walk, and me, because this is the synchronicity of the path of the heart. Magnetizing. So let me just say this, because so many people look at, how do I manifest? How do I create this? How do I attract my tribe, let's say?
Oh my
through.
gosh, you're speaking like you're literally like my my language, my person.
But it's true, isn't it? It's the heart.
It's always the heart. The heart is the magnet. It's always the
It is.
heart.
It is.
It's
I
like,
thought,
did you hear that? Can we please highlight that? The heart is the magnet, the path
brilliant.
of the heart. Ah.
Yeah. Oh, Katrina, that's so beautiful. Okay, I'm just going to go into a very beautiful, deep prayer. I'm going to invite everybody who's listening today and made it this far with us to take a moment to sit up straight and take a deep breath in through the nose, all the way down the spine, all the way down to the base of the spine to where the coccyx, your last vertebrae, is. And to bring your awareness just here and about 4 fingertips below your spine. And as you take another deep breath all the way down to this gateway, just taking a moment to feel the energy in your feet as you open yourself to the Great Mother, whose lap we're sitting on. Just to open yourself to feel your alignment to the crystal core of her heartbeat. And I'd just like to invite you just to take this moment for you to really give yourself a full permission to bring your roots down to the earth, down to connect with the Great Mother who loves you absolutely unconditionally. And I'm just going to offer this seed thought that it's safe for me to exist here. So calling in the holy I am presence of all that you've ever been and all that you ever will be. With the contemplation, I am safe. It's safe for me to exist here. Oh, Great Spirit, Father, Son, Aho to you, Great Mother, Great Mystery. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this moment, and thank you for this lifetime opportunity and this dreaming to wake up, to know ourselves here as one human family. Thank you for this body. And in this moment, radiating the light of love from our hearts individually and collectively to our mothers and our fathers, no matter what the story. Thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice, for your courage. And just inviting you to take another deep breath now into your heart center, right in the center of your chest. And to really hold that breath for a moment and then to release out through the mouth. From the point of light within the mind of existence, love streams forth into the hearts, into the minds of all mankind. Light illuminates this earth. From the point of love within the heart of existence, love streams forth into the hearts of all. I am you, you am I, and we are one. From the center known as humanity, purpose and intent aligns in loving service to the one and all. From the center known as humanity, the plan of love and light is now made fully manifest. Love and light and wisdom now restores the balance on planet Earth, and so it is. May the light of spirit shine upon us, upon all beings, in all planes and all dimensions, now and forevermore, for the ultimate good of all. Om Shanti, 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 Om. Giving thanks to the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the gatekeepers of the East House of Light for bringing illumination so that we could know all things in clarity, a whole. And giving thanks to the grandmothers, grandfathers, gatekeepers of the North House of Night for helping us to ripen the wisdom so that we can know all from within, a whole. Giving thanks to the grandmothers, the gatekeepers of the West House of Transformation for revealing to us the path of right action so that we may do what must be done. And giving thanks to the gatekeepers of the South House of the Eternal Sun for gifting us a glimpse of what it is to harvest, to reap the harvest of planetary beingness. And giving thanks to the above house of heaven, where the Star Nation and our ancestors are gathered, giving thanks to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas from the realms of Shambhala for bringing us the teachings of the Kala Chakra and the coming golden age. Giving thanks to the 7 great rishis that guard this universe, and giving thanks to the Christ and your court of angels and holy archangels, and especially to you, Holy Archangel Shekinah, for holding our Great Mother in her birthing hour. I'm bowing to you once again, Pachamamita, beautiful goddess Gaia, Madre Tierra, Mother Earth. We love you, we honor you. Thank you for imbuing us with the heartbeat of your crystal core to help us to transform and transfigure all warring within ourselves and without. And beautiful family gathered today, I invite you to take this moment to put your hands on your heart, to turn to this sacred center, the sacred center that brings you to the center of the galactic force which is everywhere at once. May everything be known as the light of mutual love. Oyam Hunabku Eva Maya Imaho. All in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. All in the name of the Mother, the Soul, and the collective consciousness of humanity. Ahomatakwiasin. We are all related. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for this beautiful, vibrant conversation full of so much wisdom, so much light. Thank you. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure, sister.
And thank you, dear listeners, viewers, for being with us. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please check out the links in show notes. And as always, subscribe, review, and until next time, thank you.